Welcome to Modern Wisdom with Dawnricci. I'm Dawnricci, a spiritual mentor, healer, psychic, and medium. My podcast is all about empowering you with spiritual insights on health, wellness, relationships, and careers. Join me and my guests as we navigate life's twists and turns, sharing wisdom and expanding knowledge together. Hit subscribe now to stay updated and never miss an episode. Billy, so great to meet you. And thank you for being here. I can't wait to hear more about this NOW-IST and how you developed it and created this movement. So tell us a little bit about you, like where you came from, where you live now. Tell us a little bit of background.
First of all, thank you, Dawn, for having me. I really appreciate connections like this. I've been blessed to be on a lot of podcasts and interviews, and it's always an honor to share this moment with you or with whoever I'm connecting with, because the craziest thing about doing these podcasts is you never know who's going to be watching them a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. And I find that when we have these podcasts, what comes through is what everybody needs. So it's been my experience in these wonderful, reviewing these and having people comment that just the thing that you and I were talking about, they listen to it in the car while they're walking their dog, just at the right time. So you and I together are doing a great service to people. And to those that are listening right now, thank you, and you're welcome at the same time. So Billy Mandarino, that's me. I'm the NOW-IST. The channeled work that is the NOW-IST came through me, not for me. It came through me, and just to be of service to the world. And this world, as you know, is overwhelmed with stress and anxiety, and heart disease is the #1 killer in the world. Cancer is #2, hospitalizations #3. A lot of these diseases and maladies have to do with stress. So in 2018, the NOW-IST came out. Once the book was launched, I traveled the world and did talks and speaking engagements. I've done 2 live events. My band and I wrote an entire record around this concept of helping people live in the present moment as a way of life, not a religion. It's a practice. It's beyond mindfulness in the sense that you're living out of time. When you're mindful, but you're living in this ethereal quantum realm where everything, when you live out of time, your timing is better. This is the ironic rub of living out of time, is your timing in life. Synchronicities happen, signs, these wonderful happenstances that we call, accidents, are actually the universe conspiring with you when you quit thinking and the gravity of your problems and the gravity of this world and the linear timeline that we all live in. When you can live in what I call the now, the crossification of divine time and linear time, that sweet spot in the center is the now. And that's what being a NOW-IST is. And when you live that way, I coach folks, I teach them, we have events. We're currently working on a feature-length film. It's all about serving people in this world that are in stress and overwhelm and anxiety, and how to teach them how to get out of that by living this way. And it's such a joyous place to be, the present moment. There's so much energy and creativity and imagination there. That's it. It's my life's dharma. It's my passion.
I can feel it. I can feel how much this is part of your life. And I started on my path probably seriously 2014. And it was because I just was, and I dealt with so many high-powered clients, and they just burnt me out, and I couldn't even think straight anymore. I couldn't even speak straight anymore. People used to think it was menopause. I'm like, no, I'm totally overworked, and they've taken my brain cells away, and I lost myself. I seriously did. And I ended up in the spiritual end of things, not only because spirits always spoke with me, as now that I look back, I realize, one of the reasons why I was a very successful private investigator is because I had very intense intuition and keen skills, so I used that to the test. But so back in 2014, I realized that there is so much more to life than the almighty dollar. And don't get me wrong, I'm a shopper. I like my shopping. And I like all my nice luxury things, don't get me wrong, but I really put everything in perspective I believe in like 2021, my husband and I, we sold our last home. And we downsized it, and everyone was like, are you crazy? You're going to go, live in this small space, and you're crazy. What are you going to do? You're going from 6 bedrooms to 1 bedroom. I'm like, you know what? I don't need all this stuff anymore. And it really, really helped me put everything in perspective, allowed me to open my heart and soul to not only to higher spirit and everything else, but it just helped me put everything in perspective. So thank you so much for taking this time to sit with me and tell me about your movement, because that's really what it is, and this way of living, because it's so important for anyone who is actually listening to this right now. You were meant to. This is not a coincidence. You are meant to listen to this right now. So 25 years of this, and you have, from what I understand, you have a wonderful wife and you have a daughter. So when this epiphany happened to you, was your wife like, okay, Billy, have you flipped your cookie?
Oh yeah, you know it. Of course, because you've heard it a million times, this woo-woo spiritual talk, this crazy energy work, and and you work with people's imagination, you work with their souls and their physiologies, and your mind's going to heal your body. And all the problem with that is so many people in the media, social media especially, have just put this negative slant on it. There's so many people out there doing energy work and healing and spiritual healing and sound healing. A lot of that is amazing, and it's right on the money and right on the mark, and it really helps people. But the problem is people become skeptical because you hear these get rich quick schemes or these get healed quick schemes. And so many people they lose the integrity of it. And the reality is, awareness is the one thing that I teach in step 1. And if most people had the awareness of what this was, what it is to live in present moment awareness, what it is to live out of stress, to live in divine time, all it takes is one step in the direction of yourself, a step in the direction of you. That's where the change happens, which that step is awareness. And most people don't have the awareness that, yes, this is not some woo-woo crazy spiritual teaching. When you have your own epiphany, which is what I'm blessed to have people experience, when you live in and you step into awareness, true Christ consciousness, if you will, Buddha nature, divine mind, when you can live in that state of being, which only exists in the present moment, that's why I say it's a step in the direction of you, because your awareness is closer than near and sooner than now. It's not in this crazy journey you have to go. It's literally a point of awareness where you allow yourself to get out of the gravity of your problems, the ruminating on the past and the future, living in the physical energy that is the stress you hold in your neck, in your guts, in your hands. When you can literally get this cleansing clarity in your system, you have the power of divine mind. And when you have that power, that first step is the awareness in the step towards your highest self. Because Rumi, have you heard of Rumi?
Yes.
Rumi, wonderful Rumi. He has this quote, which I think sums this idea of awareness and this epiphany, and Satori's and all these traditions talk about having this flash of enlightenment. But he says, when you're born, a ladder was placed before you to escape this world. And all I'm trying to teach people to do is go up a few rungs on that ladder of higher awareness, living in your highest self. And when you can just get up a couple rungs, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, your life will completely change, because your point of attraction has changed, because you're living in a different state of energy. You're living in the oneness instead of the duality that we all tend to live in.
Yes, I love that. I use the analogy. I mean, everyone's heard of this, like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Well, that doesn't have to necessarily be negative. That 3 steps forward, 2 steps back means you just still did 1 step. So give yourself credit for taking the next step of that awareness. We can only do things so much, so far, at so much time. And so I love this. I love what you're showing people and what you're teaching people. That leads me actually to my next question. Tell me more about your program. Like, how do you help others with the feelings of fear, and to try to find out their own truth, because that you get people coming in that are so out in left field. You're practically like trying to have them understand where you're coming from, and that, they look at you like, okay, how do I trust this guy, Billy?
Well, I've been blessed to be in this. It's my divine work. It's my dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
This work is here for me to serve. It's the best thing to do is when you can find your purpose, as you did, right, Dawn? You were in this kind of corporate world, this investigating stress, right? So much overwhelm, so many expectations on you, the ones you put on yourself, the one other people put on you. But you ultimately you found your purpose, which is the spiritual path, right?
Yeah.
When it finds you, you have this like aha, like this is it. So I've found that part of my life. So when I find people or people find me, I mean, you have to kind of be an energetic match. You have to have skin in the game.
Absolutely.
It's
I
not
agree.
cheap it's not cheap to work with me because
No,
I
absolutely.
literally go deep. I have a 12-week program called Becoming Your Infinite Self, help many people change their lives because they have gone through social media. They've seen I have 575 videos on my YouTube channel. There's so much free content about NOW-IST teaching and has been out there for 6 years. I just give so much. It's so much value for free that when you're ready, when one of my posts talks to you, they call me up, they contact me, they fill out the application, and you get me one-on-one all in for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And we go so deep and we go so wide that when you leave the 12 weeks, you're not the same person. They say every 7 years, your cells regenerate. You're physically not the same person. Well, after 12 weeks, you're spiritually not the same person. You've connected to the divine mind, Christ consciousness, Buddha awareness, whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, it's your highest self. That's why it's becoming your infinite self, because after 12 weeks, you're living in your highest realm. And then the physical maladies disappear. The weight loss happens, the financial things, the relationship shows up. It's just the synchronicities happen. And you understand the subtitle for my book is Finding the Signs to Your Ultimate Desires in No Time. Those signs become aware to you. Your awareness now picks them up. I call them spiritual breadcrumbs. I learned that from Dr. Wayne Dyer. I mean, these beautiful synchronicities help you guide your life to that next rung, as we talked about on Rumi's ladder. And when you just take a couple steps up, then all you want to do when you have all this abundance, you just want to give it away. And the more you give away, the more comes back to you. It's this crazy point of attraction that you have upregulated to such a degree that your life changes. The next thing is like, pay it forward. How can I pay it forward to the next person? So it's like, that's how you change the world. That's why my mission is to create this legion of NOWists that are out in the world serving people. After they've been served, it's like paying it forward. Then that's how you change the world.
How easy is it just to pay it forward? It's just, you don't have to give a lot of money. Some people, you don't have to donate a lot at one time a year. You don't have to be that person. How about just helping the guy next in line in the grocery store?
Well, it says God loves a
Like,
cheerful giver. It says in the Bible, in the Torah, God loves a cheerful
yeah,
giver.
yeah. That's how I get joy, is helping that one person. And
Oh
I
my
feel
God,
like
Dawn.
sometimes that one person every once in a while, that comes through. Like, it doesn't have to be the whole thing. But so one time it just came to me is that I was in Florida and I was in like a Publix or something. And there was some guy, you could tell he was, less fortunate, homeless or whatever. And I swear he bought like one banana, three shrimp. So he had his complex, he had his carbohydrate, his sugar, his protein, his three
4 food
shrimp.
groups, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? And I was kind of watching, saying, okay, now if the dude goes and buys like a candy bar, or, he goes and buys cigarettes or whatever, then I'm like, but you know what? No, that's all he had. And he was counting his change. And I turned to him, I go, hey, it's on me. And he goes, oh, really? He goes, because I think I'm short. I think I handed him like $10.
Oh
And
my
I said,
God.
okay, please don't go get alcohol with this. But
Yeah.
I think I handed him the $10. I got him I said, if you want to go get more food, put it, whatever. But I paid for it. And you know what? I just made some guy's day. That's all
Do you know
you
what you
need to
did, Don,
do.
though? You did something more than you even know. There's a study that came out. I forget if it was Harvard or Yale back at least 20, 30 years ago, but I've read this study years ago, and it really stuck with me. And I always bring it to light in conversations like this, when you have this magnanimous act, they basically they study the levels of serotonin in the giver. So you are giving this gentleman $10, and if they were to measure your serotonin would have gone up like 10 points. His serotonin would have gone up 10 points. But the cashier watching you give this gift, her serotonin went up 10 points. So that's how the Dalai Lama says you change the world through compassion and kindness, because it makes everybody feel good.
Yeah. And I too do, the videos, and my videos are too very inspirational. And, I just try to send a good message to the public to just try to be kind. Like, for instance, like the lady next door. Okay, maybe she's cranky. Oh, the cranky lady next door. Well, guess what? Maybe she's not so cranky. Maybe she just doesn't feel good, or she has some, health issues. Did you ever think just to think about that and like just try to be nice? Just say hello. So, a simple hello. It doesn't even have to be money. Instead of just walking by that same person every day.
Do you know what I love about what you said, Dawn, is there's this, have you ever read of A Course in Miracles?
I think I did.
Okay.
Don't make me quote anything, but I did.
I love that speaks to what you're talking about. It says, if you knew who walked beside you on this journey you have chosen, you could never experience fear or doubt again. So you think of that person, you think if they just knew, that's my mission, is to give them the awareness to know you're not alone.
Yeah.
You've got divine guidance around you. If you just step into that awareness, there's the fear and the doubt, because the fear and the doubt are what kill most people.
Yeah.
A body at ease, you've heard it a million times, won't create dis-ease. Right. So it's how do you get in that awareness, that divine mind that helps you get out of this overwhelming, what I call it, we have infobesity in this world. We're obese with information. How do you get out of that obesity of mind?
Yeah, it's funny. So I love that. I actually made a sticky note about the obese,
Infobesity,
Yeah, I love that. And so, as I was listening to your book, I listened to it on Audible. As I was listening, I go, he has so many Billyisms. Did anyone ever say that to you?
I know it's ever said that to me. No.
Oh my God, I'm going to call them Billyisms. That's what they cute. Are. How, and I loved it. So, okay. So I love about the program. Thank you for explaining that, because it is very, very truthful, that how it is a super duper commitment. Like when you commit, you're putting in all your heart and soul into helping somebody else. You can meet them 50%. They got to come to you 50% too. And I love that. That is, I give the talk too when I have my clients. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this together.
You got to have skin in the game. You got to be 100% committed.
Absolutely.
It's the only way.
Absolutely. So, in your book, the NOW-IST plug, in your book, I really love how you're excited to share this new knowledge with the readers, like about the synchronicities and how they keep showing up. Because I felt that in my life, in the last 10, 20 years, the synchronicities I've had to learn to trust because of all life's peaks and valleys, more valleys than peaks. That's right. I've had to learn to trust, to walk through that. And I'll tell you, if I didn't allow those synchronicities to happen, if I didn't go with my gut reaction and see that happen, I don't know where I would be today. It literally saved a lot of things in my life.
So chapter 17 of the book, the NOW-IST, is like what I call the journey journal. So it is 30 to 40 synchronicities that have happened in my life, because the NOW-IST is also a spiritual memoir. The book, it's how I found the present moment in my life and how I apply it to create avalanches of abundance in my life, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially. It's allowed me to just transform my life and then help other people. So it's about paying it forward. But ultimately, when you can learn how to pay attention, as like, once again, Dr. Wayne called them spiritual breadcrumbs. And chapter 17 has all these journey journals, these synchronicities that I physically cannot prove other than divine or angelic guidance to make them happen. And everybody has them, but people don't write them down. That's why when we do our live events, I hand journey journals out to everybody, these leather-bound books. and they record their synchronicities. Now they have this journal, and all your viewers and listeners right now, same thing. You must write them down when they happen, because I call it the reverse doubting Thomas. Thomas was, wanted to see the nails in Jesus' hand, didn't believe it. But you get these physical signs in your life, which are called synchronicities, that kind of give you the proof, even though you don't need it because it happened, but you write them down so you have the proof, and you can go back when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, when you're feeling lack of faith or doubt. Go back and look at your journey journal and read these synchronicities that happen. It'll bolster your faith. It'll cut your doubt out, and you'll have a chance to take that next step in faith into the new direction that you go from there.
And I really think we have to drive home that it is a synchronicity. It's not a coincidence. Okay.
And you can prove it. I have a journey journal that I've been keeping since 2012. I have 100 of them in there now. I put 30 or 40 in the book. But every time it happens, I write them down.
Yeah, I should go back and do that. Yeah,
Anybody listening, just grab a little notebook and just write them down when they happen, and then go back like in a month and go, oh my God, look at all these divine proofs in my life, these physical apparatus that showed up for me to serve me in a physical way, and use that to bolster your faith and the belief in something bigger helping you. Like that quote, if you knew who walked beside you, on this journey you have chosen, you could never experience fear or doubt again. Synchronicities, the journey journal helps you get out of the doubt and the fear, because that's the crusher of your dreams.
Well, in your book, a lot of times you do reference the Bible in certain passages and paragraphs in the Bible. And well, explain that to me, why you reference the Bible.
No, I'm not. The Bible thumper is kind of they're divine truths that have come in many traditions. The Bible, they've come in the Torah, they've come in so many different brilliant spiritual books that have been written over the last, 6,000 years. There's so many of them. In my life, I've just experienced that the Bible has served me kind of, the Bible, Dawn, is truly the greatest psychological book ever written. It's historically true, but if you read those passages, those parables, they're psychological truths. Like literally, if you go to a psychologist, Dr. Carl Jung, he even said, and there's these infinite truths in this book. It's literally a psychological story that you can apply to your life, all those parables. So look at it, read it from that lens. Don't think, okay, I don't believe in this. I don't know if this happened. Did Jesus really walk on the earth? But just look at it as a psychological truth. And that's how I use it, as a psychological truth in a parable, in a passage, how I've applied it to my life and how it served me. So it's just like reading some great psychological book. I just think it's the greatest psychological story ever written.
So I'm going to switch it up a bit, because I was so intrigued that you said your biggest inspiration was Prince. Hey, if you haven't already done so, check out my website at Dawnricci.com, where you can book your appointment with me. If you need expert guidance in finding your own spirituality, or maybe thinking about getting back on track with health and well-being, then let's get to it with customized mentoring programs for your personal development. You can find all the information you need at dawnricci.com. Now let's get back to the show. Prince and Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
So I was
juxtaposition.
And I cracked up, because I actually do love Prince, and I thought he was brilliant. And I felt so bad when he passed away, but you had kind of a different pose about that, like saying that he knew what he was doing. He knew it was time.
Absolutely.
And when you said that, I was like, holy crow, he's right. I felt it in my gut. It was really kind of wild.
I'll share with your viewers real quick, and it's in the book, but how we proved that, and how many other people, myself, when that happened, I was devastated. I'm thinking, man, he's only 57 years old, so much music to still perform and play. Well, the good news is he has a vault full of 10,000 songs and who knows, 100 music videos that we're still going to see at some point. So he's the most prolific artist, I think, to ever walk the planet. But when he died, his song, Let's Go Crazy, it says, dearly beloved, we are gathered here to the day, right? He says, when the elevator tries to take you down, go crazy, punch a higher floor. Punching a higher floor means going up to your highest self, going to God, right? Yeah. The devil going down is obviously the negativity of life. Yeah. So Prince is having this, he knows he's dying, and he's in his Paisley Park apartment. They found him in his elevator when he passed. In his elevator. He had taken himself wherever he was in his bed, or he drug himself the elevator. He finished his life there in that elevator. It's the only song he's ever written. It's a gospel song about going up, about making your transition to the divine heaven. And even in his death, he was an artist. I mean, that's how powerful he is. He was a divine, I believe he was a divine avatar in the sense that he brought so much joy to music in people's heart. He transforms lives. You say what you want about him. The guy was a genius, divine avatar in my book.
Yeah, I loved him too. And, he went through tough with his identity. He's, they tried to take his soul away, but he worked beyond it. He was amazing. So tell me I mean, I love Wayne Dyer too, but you really know Wayne Dyer inside and out. I mean, I get the I do the I am meditation. It helps me brings me confidence. It brings me to a higher level. And tell me about your passion with Wayne Dyer.
So Dr. Wayne, it sounds crazy woo-woo, but he still is in my life.
I love it.
He's still in my life. He is the initial impetus, the spark of divine mind that hit me in the heart and gave me the inspiration to bring the book into the world. The word NOW-IST doesn't exist. It came to me. And it's a word that just means living in the present moment as a way of life, like a scientist, right? Or an alchemist. It's being a NOW-IST. You change your life by living in the present moment as a way of life, as a function of living. And Dr. Wayne, in his book, Wishes Fulfilled, where he speaks about the I am that I am. And that's the first place that I really dove deep into the I am. Dr. Wayne had cancer. He was able to overcome Hodgkin's lymphoma. When he died, he had no cancer in his body. He had some mystical healings. He was just an incredible divine being. And he was the third most influential spiritual teacher on the planet when he passed in 2015, August 30th. And he in chapter 17 in his book, Wishes Fulfilled, it talks about this amazing experience he had with the monarch butterfly and his friend Jack that passed away. Jack was a pastor. So he's in Hawaii finishing his, in Maui where he lived, finishing the 17th chapter, just finished writing it, went for a walk on the beach. And he was thinking about his friend Jack that had just passed away. And this monarch butterfly, lands on his finger. And in the trade winds, you've been to Hawaii, right, Dawn?
Yes.
The trade winds are incredible. This butterfly stayed on his finger for like an hour. And he said, that's Jack. He said, that's his friend. That's his buddy, Jack, coming back to say, hey, I'm with you. So I've always thought that was incredible. So since Dr. Wayne has passed and since I wrote the book, I'll be thinking about him or a spiritual concept and a monarch butterfly. It won't land on my finger. None has landed on my finger yet. I keep putting my finger out and say, come on, Dr. Wayne, just land on my finger. But he will brush my hand. The monarch butterfly will fly past my face when I'm thinking. It's happened like 30, 40 times. Of course, I write them down in my journey journal when it happens. But it only happens when I'm thinking about it. So he is still in my life giving me this synchronicity or sign saying, yes, you're on the path. When Abraham Maslow, do you know who Abraham Maslow is?
No.
So he was the father of self-actualization. He passed away June 8th, 1972. At the exact same time, Dr. Maslow is dying. Dr. Wayne Dyer was walking across the stage, receiving his diploma of becoming a doctor, his doctorate. So that was June 8th, 1972. Well, August 2015, August 30th in 2015, Dr. Wayne passed away, and I feel like he passed the baton on to me. And that's why I'm continuing this work of self-actualization and bringing people into this divine mind as a way of life to help serve the planet as he did.
I'm so floored that happened to you. And like I said, I've been during the week in my car, I've been listening to the book. And so when I was outside this morning, getting in my car, what do you think was fluttering around? I swear, I immediately said, okay, this is going to be a great interview. He's with us. It's all good. And I just love that. And, I believe you, Billy, because your energy is so infectious. You have such a wonderful, incredible presence to show the world how special what we do is. Right. And we need to just keep screaming it from the rooftops, no matter if one person listens or if 10 people listens or 10,000 people listen. You know, I get frustrated on that, on social media, because here you are like putting out there some really good information for someone to help someone. And the next scroll up is some stupid thing. Stupid thing that somebody's doing. So sometimes I get down on myself. I'm like, why do we even bother? Like, for what? You know?
Good for you.
But I'll tell you, Dr. Wayne is so much part of your soul. He's in your soul cluster.
He is. He's my
because team. I can feel your aura. I can feel your energy. We can climb into, I just want to talk about, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to climb into the healing parts of what you say and do for awareness and higher Christ consciousness and oneness. When a person enters into that part of energy because our layers of energy, when we enter in that part, that's where the magic happens. That's where the healing happens.
And you can access it anytime.
Yeah. I mean, I'm my worst enemy. I don't.
We all are. You're right. We are.
I don't meditate enough. I'm doing 9,000 things. I just don't. You know, like I just don't. But when I do, it's like you are floating on air. It's an out of body experience, which you did explain that in your book. You did have an out of body experience. Well, but it is all those things. And that's where people heal.
That's where the growth is. It's out of time. It's in that quantum realm, that spiritual leveling up to your highest self. That's when everything changes, because you're not in the seeking mode. You're in the allowing mode. You're in Paulo Coelho. He wrote this, one of my favorite books is The Alchemist. And I opened my book, talking a little about The Alchemist, which is an incredible book. It's the fifth most published book in the world in history. It's been published in 69 languages. It's called The Alchemist. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read that, listeners, viewers. It's the most powerful little book, one of the most powerful books you'll ever read. And it's kind of like, it was part of my inspiration for writing the NOW-IST, because it's all about this character, Santiago, that's in this seeking mode, trying to find his dharma, or his personal legend, as they call it in the story. But Paulo Coelho has this great quote. He says, life is the train, not the destination. Mm-hmm. We get so caught up in the seeking mode, but the reality is the process is the joy. That's the growth. That's how you change. It's not about when I get there to this goal. I don't believe in goal setting. I speak to high school kids, middle school kids. I've done a lot of talks for them, helping them get out of stress and overwhelm, especially right before the pandemic and during the pandemic, because the teens, they're on the front line with social media and talk about infobesity. They're obese with information, and how many likes is my life worth? And all of these terrible and Mark Twain said, comparison is the death of joy. I mean, our kids. So that's why my heart is full. We have a 17-year-old daughter. So I've been doing this work with her contemporaries for so long, because I realize that that's the deep work to help these kids learn how to find the present moment.
Is she embracing it?
She, another quote, it says, no man is a prophet in his own home, right? No man's a prophet in his own village. But with my wife's a high school teacher, brilliant high school teacher. My daughter, I'm just so blessed. She's like 3 kids in one. She's so dynamic, and I call her the light of the world. I try not to be too woo-woo preachy at home. They know I do a ton of podcasts, and in my band, write songs. We're doing this movie. We've done live events. And
okay, by the way, I do want to see the movie. So, make sure you keep in contact with me.
Oh yeah, no, we're almost done with the screenplay. It's been a year in writing the screenplay with my screenwriting partner. It's so inspired. This work is hopefully going to be the thing that really gets the NOW-IST out into the world in a bigger way, because the movie's it's about helping people emerge from trauma. Because about a year and a half ago, I read this stat that 50% of all 8 billion people on this planet have some unresolved childhood trauma. So I thought, I've done these live events, music, talks, coaching. I do all this stuff that I love to do and I'm passionate about. But if you want to reach more people, you have to get in the theaters. You have to get on the streaming service. You have to for 2 hours. If I can have somebody have their captivity, and then create this story that takes them through the emergence of a character and a family coming out of trauma. We call it emergence trauma. When we do our live events, there's a 5-step process. The first 5 things you do when you emerge from trauma. So the story is about that. It's a psychological thriller. And it's a story that helps people learn how to get out of trauma. Because if half of the world is dealing with childhood traumas they've never dealt with, why do you think there's self-sabotage? Why do you think there's addiction patterns? Why are there's divorce rates 60%? Why are people, imposter syndrome is just rampant? Because they don't know their authentic self. And
right. And I feel that they're thrown into social media. So they have to be popular. Again, like you had mentioned, they have to be popular, they have to get the likes. And honestly, to be in high school now, not only would you worry about going to school and be bullied, you're bullied all across the world on social media from your friends. So that's like a huge load to bear.
Truly.
And being young and everything. Wow. The last thing I wanted to ask you, I thought it was kind of cool. And again, this is a Billyism. You're talking about a bi-terrestrial. What does that mean?
Yeah, most people think it's bisexual. That's definitely not it at all.
Well, no, I Googled it.
Yes.
It didn't come up. Not even AI. Yeah. Even AI gave me a scratching head. But
like a NOW-IST, it's a word that I created. It's a concept, kind of like emergence trauma doesn't exist. That's a framework that we teach at our live events, and now we're creating a movie about emergence trauma. So being a bi-terrestrial is someone who lives in their imagination high above the earth, high in that ethereal realm that is their highest self, but your feet are fondly on the ground. So there's this conduit that this earthly being has that's connected to the higher self. So to being a bi-terrestrial, you live with your imagination, your head's in the clouds, but your feet are on the ground. You're actually living. So imagine a hummingbird, right? Their wings beat 86 seconds, beats a second. Like they're so fast, but they're perfectly still. They're very busy, but they're perfectly present. So if you could live, because I'm kind of, this theory of being a bi-terrestrial is how I actively kind of became a NOW-IST, because I realized, I'm a property manager. I manage many, many properties. I sell property. I'm a realtor. We're writing this book. I do a lot of speaking. I have my beautiful wife. We've been married 30 years, our 17-year-old daughter. I'm a 3 handicap golfer. I do all this stuff, but how do I do it without the stress, right? And we're living as a bi-terrestrial. You live with your presence, not so much in a linear time. You live with your imagination. In the end, you think from the end instead of about the end, but you're very busy doing, but you don't allow the doing to overtake the being. That's what a bi-terrestrial is, living in the oneness while you're doing. So you're living bi-terrestrial, above and below. It says as within, so without.
I think that's a brilliant term. I really do. I would probably secure it, copyright it, do something with that term. Because, in our world, we are all beings, and we all come from different places in our universe, and we're here on earth learning lessons in soul contracts. So I just loved that term. I thought it was amazing. Billy, thank you so much for being here with me.
My pleasure, Dawn.
Oh my gosh, I enjoyed our conversation so much. Will you please tell our listeners how they can reach you?
Well, the hub, the mothership of all the NOW-IST teachings is BillyMandarino.com. It's my name, Billy Mandarino. It's spelled like the Mandarin orange, but with an O on the end, BillyMandarino.com. All the social media is linked out from there. If you're interested in coaching, there's tabs for everything. Go to our YouTube channel. 575 videos of free content, free teaching on the YouTube channel. It's the most robust, just for instant, access to learning the NOW-IST meditation, how to get out of stress and overwhelm, and all these different techniques and meditations, guided meditations. There's so much there for free. And if you want to go deeper, just go to BillyMandarino.com and click on the coaching button. I'm just here to be of service. I'm super excited about this movie that we're working on. I don't know when it's coming out. I just know that my passion and my inspiration is devoted to it right now with 100%.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for enlightening us with this discussion and transforming how we should perceive and experience life. You taught me stuff, so thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Modern Wisdom with Dawnricci. Thank you. Hey there. So before we head over to the next episode, I wanted to let you know about my show named Beach Bench Medium, and it's on my YouTube channel. As I passed by beach benches that line the boardwalk, I felt the nudge from Spirit to bring family members to their bench and give them a reading. If you have a bench dedicated to someone you lost, then get in touch with me at hello@dawnricci.com. I would love for you to be on the show. Thanks for listening.